Hi everybody, we're back again for another episode, reading part, chapter, whatever you like to call it, of Slippers and Chains. I'm Ileandra Young and I've been working on this piece for some time. To recap, for those of you who are new, this project is me reading the novella from start to finish to camera for you prior to the release of the ebook. Something I have not mentioned prior to now, although I feel like I should, is that this reading of the ebook is actually an abridged version. I'm talking about this as a piece of erotica, and it's also funny. That's the idea. So what you'll find through these readings, that is mostly the funny stuff, and once the ebook is released and you can see it on your Kindle or whatever your reading apparatus of choice is, you will find the cut versions that I refuse to read to camera. Not because I don't like them, but because at the end of the day I'm just bloody shy, and there's no two ways about that really. And I do have to say that even though my mum knows I'm doing this, I don't think I could read to camera knowing that she'd hear those bits. So there we go. Yeah, so the full version of Slippers and Chains will be the ebook. That's where all the naughty stuff resides. Well, the majority of the naughty stuff resides. There will be some in these readings. So yeah, look forward to that. That's coming up, hopefully at the end of the year or early next year, depending on how the timeline goes. Okay? But for now, I'll get on with reading for you. This is part 4 of Slippers and Chains, and it is Dan Says, I'm Embarrassed. Poor thing. Hey babe, I'm home. Dan stepped over the threshold into the house with his heart thudding somewhere in the back of his throat. He swallowed to clear the lump and carried his holdalls through to the hallway. He ignored his mother's continued natter and made a beeline for the kitchen. Tea, Mum? That would be lovely, darling, thank you. On the way through, he walked straight into Pete, who looked like he'd swallowed a lemon coated in goat's piss. Is she out? He whispered. What the hell were you playing at, sending me in there with your naked girlfriend? You could have warned me. I didn't have time. Dan, she damn near bit my head off when I turned up in there. You could have given her something to wear at least. The simplicity of the suggestion made Dan cringe. He dumped the holdalls and crossed his arms. I didn't have time, you don't understand. No, I clearly don't. Pete wiped his mouth. I need a screwdriver. Shed. On the floor, near the paintbrushes. Good. He whirled round and stalked off. Dan considered following him and checked over his shoulder for his parents. He saw Julian struggling to bring in the hat boxes. Dad, let me take those. He put them on the table. Tea? Coffee, son, you know me. Sure. He had filled the kettle and grabbed 3 mugs before noticing how quiet the room was. Where's Mum? Using the loo. Dan choked. You what? The loo, you know, the toilet, the bog, or whatever you young ones call it. Son, what's wrong? He couldn't answer. Tripping over the holdalls, Dan fled the room, climbing the stairs 2 at a time to reach the top. He rounded the corner on the landing just as his mother put her hand on the door to the master bedroom. Mum! Hi, darling, she beamed. Just having a nose around? I love the new wallpaper. Does it go all the way up in here? You can't go in there. Why ever not? Dan chewed his lip. Messy, not fit for guests. Don't be silly, I don't mind a little mess. I'm embarrassed. He ran over and knocked her hand away from the handle. I don't want you to see it. She stared at him. You raised me better than that. I just don't want you to see what a slob I am. But the wallpaper? It's exactly the same, I promise, honest. I'll show you when I've had a chance to tidy up. You know, Daniel, she said through pursed lips, if that girlfriend of yours was worth anything, she'd tidy up. Dan heard a sharp squeak from beyond the door. What was that? What was what? He raised his voice. That noise. A noise? I didn't hear a noise. Look, Mum, come downstairs. Have some tea. Maxine reached around into the door. I really don't care about the mess. I just want to see. No! Again, he shoved her hand aside. Daniel? Sorry. Sorry, he chuckled. I didn't mean to slap. But really, Mum, let me tidy up first. Then you can see. Please. He hoped that the pleading edge to his voice wasn't quite so whining as he heard it to be. Let's go downstairs. Have you used the loo already? Yes, and I can't believe you're using that horrible, coarse toilet paper. It's bad for you. Why not spend a bit more money and use that lovely soft stuff, you know, the ones that we use? Yes. Dan took his mother by the hand. He coaxed her towards the stairs. Yes, I know, and I should. You'll have to remind me which ones so I can buy some next time I shop. Be sure that you do, Maxine sniffed. I know that girl must be a drain on your finances, but you can at least afford nice toilet paper, Daniel. Shoulders hunched against the sound of another indignant squeak from beyond the door, Dan talked as loudly as he could as he walked back down the stairs. He held his mother's hand all the way into the kitchen where light clouds of steam told him the kettle had boiled. Julian stood near the sink, pouring water into mugs. Sugar? No, thank you. Not you, Maxine. I said no. He doesn't need it. He's getting a bit podgy. Dan felt his mother's fingers jab at his ribcage. Son, I'll take 2, please. He ignored the sharp glance and loud tuts from his mother and steered her into a chair. There's some builder bloke in your garden, by the way. You what? Julian pointed out the kitchen window. In your shed. He's been there ages. He is a builder, isn't he? Dan looked at Pete foraging amongst his paintbrushes. Yes. Yes, he is. Just doing some last-minute checks in the bedroom. He smiled as inspiration struck. In the bedroom? He gave his mother a significant glance. He's decorated, Maxine explained, but he won't let me see the master bedroom. What do you want to go in the master bedroom for? He's not a child anymore, Maxine. Does that mean I shouldn't want to see his nice new wallpaper? Content that his parents had returned to bickering, Dan rushed out the back door and into the garden. He reached Pete just as he held up a screwdriver, an expression of real triumph on his face. Near the paintbrushes, my arse. What's wrong with you? Dan ran his hands through his hair. I'm under a bit of pressure right now, Pete. Whatever, let's just sort out this bloody cage. Just get her out, please. Yeah. He trudged back inside. Dan followed and positioned himself in the kitchen with his chair blocking the way out. Maxine continued to fuss, now pointing out a couple of rings on the tabletop. Does she ever clean anything? Mum, what? I'm just asking. This is my house. I clean. When I can be bothered. I cook. I wash. Karen spends her time here with me, not running after me like a mother hen. She's here a lot then. Every day. Oh. Maxine sniffed. That's a lot of time. What's her house like? She shares a flat with a friend. A flat? Oh dear. You used to live in a flat. Yes, before I got the role on the show. After that I moved out of that hole and into a nice clean semi. She's old enough to own her own place. Why is she sharing? Dan fought the urge to put his head in his hands. Does it matter? I'm curious. She's had to finance the PhD herself. It's cheaper to rent than pay a mortgage. As Dan lied, he realised he had no idea why Karen was still sharing with Cindy. He did know, however, that the last thing he wanted was to tell his mother anything more about Karen's living arrangements. I suppose that's something. But is she planning to move in? Oh, God, no. The smile on Maxine's face made him want to change his answer. Here, son. Dan gratefully buried his face in the mug of sugary tea his father passed over. Have you sorted out the garden yet? Maxine, give him a break. It was just a question. What's wrong with you two today? No, Mum. I wanted to do the house first. The garden can wait. Do you still have that ghastly pond? He shook his head. Filled in. Good. Can I at least see that? Sighing, Dan put his tea down and opened the back door. He ushered his mother through it and followed. Julian came quickly after. Together they walked to the far wall to inspect the gravelled area which once held the pond. Much nicer like this, isn't it? I suppose, Not really thought about it much. Well, I like it. You'll have space for a vegetable garden like your father's. Organic food is much better for you. If you say so. It is. I read an article only last week about all the chemicals in our food. It's terrible. I wonder any of us are still alive. Dan nodded. Oh, I forgot my tea. One moment, darling. Maxine flounced back into the house. Dan put his head in his hands. He gave a wordless groan. Julian patted his back. It's okay, son. Deep breaths. Why, Dad? Why can't she just be normal? The older man smiled. You never did understand, did you? That is normal for your mother. She's just looking out for you. Every time she speaks, I feel like I'm going through a wrangler. Try living with her. Never again. The pair grinned. It really does look better, by the way. The pond was a bit big and you didn't really want to look after it, did you? This gravel will be easier. And of course, you don't have to put in a veg patch. I know. I only said it to make her happy. I thought as much. You don't have time. What with this girlfriend of yours? Don't you start. Julian's eyes twinkled. What? I think she's lovely. Intelligent, clearly, dedicated, obviously. Sounds like you struck gold to me. Dan gave his first real smile in hours. Thanks. Convince Mum, will you? I'll try. Where is she, by the way? Tea, she said. Why is she taking so long? Dan looked back towards the house, just as an angry shout came from somewhere inside. He closed his eyes. Because she's upstairs, he whispered. That's the end of part 4, Slippers and Chains. Dan says, I'm embarrassed. Can't imagine why. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. It's a pleasure as always. Please do leave me any comments that you have, any questions. I'm happy to answer those. Any comments, do you like it, do you not? Are you curious about where it's going? Are you completely indifferent? It's all things that I'm keen to know, and that I will work into the project as I go along. I do appreciate any and all feedback. Until next time, thank you very much. Enjoy the brilliant, gorgeous sunshine, and I'll see you then. Bye.